Hey, Juanita Waterman here. And yeah, I've just woke up realizing I've been lied to by my religion. And if I had known the things I know now about this religion, I never would have became one. I was a hippie type. I believed in peace and love and um, goodness. And I thought I found an organization because I had prayed to find people who would do what the Bible says. Well, watch out, you get what you pray for. And what I didn't understand was the universe answered my prayer. God answered my prayer, and He said, okay, you need rules and regulations to do what's right. I know some people who have rules and regulations for you. And voila, it wasn't long before I met witnesses. So, and they claim to be witnesses for Jehovah. Well, here is a huge problem. I studied with them because I thought they were going to, teach me something, and they did. They taught me a lot of stuff, and it did help me. I obviously needed rules. But the problem was, I read the Bible. I knew what it said, and they weren't keeping in harmony with it in so many ways, like not being able to feed people because you'd make them rice Christians. Now, because they said, 5 right things like, there's no hell, there's Jesus is God's son, not God himself, things like that made sense to me. So obviously, after you tell a person, this is a mind control thing, 3 things that are true, you can start embellishing and get mind control over them, because then just you got their head nodding. And you can use it for evil, or you can use that for good. But they obviously, without knowing, the person that taught me, without knowing, they were teaching me evil. Because what is evil about being one of Jehovah's Witnesses is the number one thing we don't like is lies. When we learn Christmas is a lie, we don't want to be part of it. When we learn, things, one of the things most Jehovah Witnesses hate is lies. So that was like my basis for becoming a Jehovah Witness. It wasn't so much it was for the love that they didn't go to war, but there are many other religions that don't go to war. But they still practiced all the lies. So when I find out that my religion is lying to me, what stand am I supposed to take? Because if it's lying to me, then the consequences of me calling it on the lie is to be an apostate, or to be causing division, to be like Jezebel, to be telling the elders what to do, or women, trying to lead the congregation, whatever. It would make me the bad guy. And I guess I just didn't want to be the bad guy. I was defending myself. I was on the defense. But when I found out other people were also seeing the lies, because you can't talk about it in the Kingdom Hall, and you don't invite people over to talk about all the lies you've been told, how do you find out the lies? And sure, you can watch the news, but you're not supposed to. And the problem is, if you leave this religion, demons are going to get you. You got to do everything they say, or the demons are going to get you. Because I remember when I was first studying, we had Smurfs, little Smurf magnets. They were so cute, and my daughter loved them, and we had them on our fridge. And they told me the story of the Smurf story. The little girl, there was a Smurf that walked down a Kingdom Hall aisle, and she had Smurf kit curtains, and in the morning they were all tore up, and she was bloody and they were bloody. So this demon story coming from people who, to me, were just so honest and pure. They could never lie about this. They're told not to lie. It was a sin if they lied, and yet they had the story going around, so I believed it. How dumb is that? And I just think, how could I have believed that lie? It's because I think even as small children, we have intuitions where things don't feel right and are scary, and you run away from those things. So they made those things scary. So they also made the world a very scary place, which really, once I started learning about positive thinking from my MLM companies, which you are not allowed to be in an MLM, okay? But my reasoning was, first of all, you're not feeding my family. You're not taking care of my family. I need to find a stay-at-home job, okay? MLM's perfect for me. But what they were really trying to get you out of was the things that MLMs teach you on personal development, on hypnotic words, and you begin to see all the conflicts that that this organization has. Because one of the things in MLMs, it teaches you to be positive about people, be positive, and this religion says, it is getting worse and people have no manners anymore and they don't do this anymore. And because I was being positive, I didn't find people like that. I would go out in the world and find nice people, but I was always looking for the hidden bone, the skeleton in the closet. And I'd find some sometimes, but I'd find that in the Jehovah Witnesses too. But before I got involved in personal development, I was a nut job, and I would rely on my reputation as being a loving person, a good person. I was so tied to that. I couldn't think for myself because it was all about how was I viewed. I wanted to be in good standing. I got baptized to get in good standing, and that didn't help because I was a single mom. Well, I was actually married with 2 kids to an unbeliever. That wasn't good standing to them, I guess. And maybe they could see I always had one foot out the door because I've always said, if you can show me something they're doing wrong, I'll quit this religion. If you can find me something better, I'll quit this religion. I don't want to be tied to it. It's a lot of work to be a Jehovah's Witness. And I always said that. And nobody told me that was wrong thinking. Thank goodness. Because that's what they said. If we're doing something wrong, we're going to change it. I was just saying what they say. So when I did find something wrong and I realized, oh my gosh, I can't say this out loud. I cannot say this is wrong because I tried it. And they just, Jehovah will take care of it. And that incident happened when my daughter said she was uncomfortable with this elder who was homeschooling her. It was a male elder in his 50s, and his wife would be in another room or not there. And I didn't know that, And when he would study with my daughter, he would study with the door this much open, okay, in her bedroom. So how dumb is that? How dumb was I to trust those people? Because I believed I had the truth. Nobody showed me anything different. And I believed that God would never let that happen to me, because that's why I came in the truth. I wanted protection for my children. I wanted to be with people who didn't lie and who would take care of me and my kids like a Christian. I come to find out they don't want to take care of you and your kids at all. So that's Rice Christian, So now when I look back at all the meanness, I can see that came from Rutherford. When I started doing research on him, he was mean. He didn't like women. And the person that studied with me would tell me she would go to the Kingdom Hall and her skirt would be too short and her brother would put a blanket over her legs. And at first, I was offended by that. How dare he? But by her telling that story, I changed my viewpoint of it to, oh, well, okay, he was just trying to protect you and, maybe some teenage boys from getting too excited. I don't know. But now I look at it and it's just, how can I think like that? But you're impressionable sometimes, especially if you have been in an abusive childhood. I came from an abusive childhood, and I thought at last I was going to get the family I always wanted. And I tore myself away from my regular family just to not have that association. And I got another type of association. Instead of, an abusive family, I got an abusive religion and and I was abused spiritually by the lies I ended up finding out. Because when I got baptized, I knew I was being baptized as one of Jehovah's Witnesses. But I never said, I'm not going to continue my search for God. I'm not going to continue, examining the scriptures and finding out if this religion fit with what the Bible said. I'm not going to stop that. Those things are really important to me because it says that, get out of Babylon. Get out of her. Otherwise, you're going to have to share with her in her, punishment. And to me, that is what I was mostly afraid of, is being in Babylon. Even when I came in as a Jehovah's Witness, I did not want to be part of Babylon. They told me who Babylon was. It made sense at the time. Now I totally see their Babylon as well. Because here's the thing. Let's say they got 3 things right. Let's say they got Jehovah's name right. Let's say they got the paradise right. And let's say they got hellfire right. Let's say they got those three things right. Well, let's say the Catholic Church got 3 things right. Let's say they got right that the Bible's true. That they got right that Jesus is a prophet or, a Messiah. Let's say they got right that we're supposed to fill the earth. Let's say they got those 3 things right. But we don't stay with that religion because they got 3 things right. It's because they got 3 things wrong that we leave. So did Jehovah Witnesses get three things wrong? Yeah, they did. And they just keep doing it because they don't have any humility to change. One of the things they got wrong was Rutherford became a president, and he said no beards. He said no beards. He said no Christmas, which is okay. I don't care about that. It's a lie anyway. But here's another thing he got wrong. We got people coming down to earth. They're going to need a house in San Diego, and I got to build that house for them, and I got to live there because I lost a lung while I was in prison because he was an antagonist. He antagonized the governments and caused, I believe, millions of people's deaths, just by being an antagonist and by them not having any leeway. Like, if someone gets a blood transfusion or doesn't have their blood card on them, they can be disfellowshipped. Instead of saying more like, look, don't eat blood. Don't buy animals with blood in them. If you're going to die, we understand that that's something that we haven't had to go through ourselves, so we don't know how we would take it. We hope you don't take blood, but you're not going to be judged if you do. Because one of the things we learned from Jesus is he helped people who were constantly breaking the law. The woman who had a flow of blood, she touched him. That was illegal. That was wrong. She should have been stoned because she was bleeding. But the second she touched him, she wasn't bleeding anymore. So, was he unclean or was he clean? Doesn't matter, because he gave the illustration: if your sheep falls in a well, and on the Sabbath, do you save it? So, same thing with blood. Yeah, we can't judge those people. And so then they kept changing it, but so many people died. So many people died upholding the opinion of these guys who claim to be from God, who claim to get it all. They say they don't claim to get it all right, then why can't they overlook this person maybe getting it wrong? No. Then there was the one on on disfellowshipping, on child abuse. Oh, that's the worst one, because they can't make any. They can't see how there's leeway in that either to protect a child. If there's child abusers amongst us, parents have the right to know who they are. Now you could say, look, we're going to tell the parents who the molesters are, and we're going to ask the parents, and it needs to be public knowledge, People should know who the child molesters are in their neighborhoods, and they're like, well, we don't have to do that. No, but that's a loving thing to do. What's the loving thing to do? That's Jesus's new law. What's the loving thing to do? And they just can't see past it. And I can't imagine why they can't see past it. They have so much pressure to see past it from the government, from within, from people leaving because of this, from people being shunned for talking about it, but the child molester goes away free. And you know what? You may say, how do I know? It's not because I watched apostate shows. It's because it happened to me. It happened to my family. We were told to shut up. We couldn't talk about it. We could be sued. And you're not supposed to sue your brother. So I imagine they would have disfellowshipped me first by the person that molested my daughter. He could sue us for slander. So what do you do when you can't talk about the most harrowing thing that's happening in your family? Of course, we got help. And at first, they didn't want us, you to go to the police. And I looked at them like, and then I guess they checked their paperwork. Oh, well, we don't want to, you do whatever you got to do. You can do whatever you got to do, and, but they didn't report it to the police, and they didn't this person had no consequences for his behavior. It was just bad judgment. It was just like with Rutherford and with Russell. They were doing things that were questionable, but nobody called them on it. And if anyone did call them on it, they were gone. So that's how it is. They protect their own. They protect their elders. And when they do, and here's the thing about the elders, is they are anointed by Holy Spirit. So it's really hard for the brothers to believe anybody saying anything against an elder. That's from the devil. That girl must have been demonized. And that's what my daughter eventually said so she could get reinstated. But that's what they believe in, demons. And they believe in demons more than they believe in loving. So, that's my opinion. That's what I came away with. And I was always shunned. And I know why now. I know why. Because I couldn't read a Watchtower and just give the answer right from the paragraph. Read straight from that paragraph. I just couldn't do it. And when you can't comment like that, very few people, there's a few in there that are awake and they know this isn't right, but they feel like there's nowhere else to go. And this is what I have to say to Jehovah Witnesses who feel like there's nowhere else to go. 1, if you're alive, that means you were made in God's image. They try to dissuade you from believing that you have any connection with God without them. That's not true. That's not true. You were made in God's image. He loves you. He sent his son to die for you. You don't think that he'll help you seeing through the lies and the red tape and help you make a decision and help you see that there's a better way that's not blind, where you can talk, where you can be yourself. So if you're happy being a Jehovah's Witness and believing all the lies they're feeding you right now, by all means, stay, because it could be a safety net for you. There may be a reason why you need to believe all that stuff, because without it, you could go off and kill yourself like many do, or you could go off and just become a bad person because you don't have these guidelines and these people babysitting you. So please don't leave. Stay there. Get the help you need from the nice people in the hall, because there are nice people there. And establish your tribe there, and that's fine. But if you are a thinking person, it's not time to take down the Jehovah Witnesses, because I believe they're there for a purpose too. They pray too. I believe they have a Holy Spirit too. They're just not the only ones that have it. And they don't have a right to put laws on their people that protect child abusers. They don't have that right. But they do have the right to teach what they believe as a governing body, as a religion. And their followers have the right to follow along with it, which is great, because most of the stuff they teach, if you do what it says and not do it out of fear, and you're not shunned all the time because you're not a robot, then it really could be a nice religion. So when you're getting ready to escape this religion, and I do mean escape, because for some of us thinking people, I mean, that's their own words. Thinking people have asked this question. Thinking people have often asked, why do we protect pedophiles? You know, thinking people have often asked, why would Jesus pick somebody like Rutherford to head his organization? You know, so testing, cleansing, whatever, every religion can say that. Every religion can say that. It's just preaching the good news of God's kingdom and all the inhabited earth, and then the end will come. We're not the only ones doing a preaching work, because that's one of the things they say, you know. It's the reason why we know we have the truth, because we're able to get people up and go preaching. Well, not anymore. We got them in carts, standing by carts now, and preaching work's over. And that ain't no zealous there. So I'm coming out. I'm waking up. I have a long ways to go. I'll probably have a whole different opinion in a year from now over this video. But right now, my advice to you is to learn as much as you can. Because once they tell you not to be a thinking person, then you know they have you in a snare. You need to think. You need to trust that you are a child of God and that He'll help you. And I would say that to them. I go, I'm a child of God. And they would say, oh, no. He's only talking about the anointed. Really? You're a child of God. Wake up. See ya.